Hi there, this is Ray Targos, and this is my project for expanding a grandfather clock business overseas. The 4 countries that we are looking at entering are Argentina, India, Morocco, and South Africa. Each of these countries has different risks in entering, and I've organized this so that we can take a look at what each country has to offer. So in Argentina, we're looking at a democratic society. It's a republic. It's got a mixed economic system, which means it allows a level of private economic freedom in the use of capital, but it also allows the government to interfere in economic activities in order to achieve social aims. It's sort of less efficient than capitalism, but more efficient than socialism. It's got a legal system with a civil code, and the government has very little control over this economy. It rated only a 44.6 out of a scale of 100, which is pretty low. And the country risk rating was a C, which means it's the political economy is highly volatile. And then in India, we're looking at also a democratic society. It has a market economy, which is different than a mixed economy, and that its decisions regarding investment, production, and distribution are based on supply and demand, and prices and goods and services are determined in a free price system. They use a different legal system like we use in the United States. We use common law. They have more government control, and it's a safer country as far as risk rating. Morocco is a monarchy. They have a mixed economic system. They have some theocratic law as well as civil. South Africa is a blend of civil, common, and customary law. It's got a mixed economic system. The risk rating is pretty high. It's pretty low for South Africa. It has an A4, which is the same as India and Morocco. When researching these countries, I assumed that India would probably have a small market for grandfather clocks, because of their British influence, and grandfather clocks have some history in England. And as I was researching online, I was able to find a few clock repair shops, specifically grandfather clock repair shops in India and South Africa. So there is a little bit of a market there. I thought Argentina, since there are some Germans exiled in Argentina, that there would be demand for grandfather clocks, but I couldn't find anything online. For people looking to get in touch with their heritage, there could possibly be a very small market. But it didn't look like there was anything currently existing in Argentina. And Morocco, I don't think there's a market at all. They have a very unique culture that doesn't really have any influence from the English or the German. They have more of a French history. I was looking at licensing in Argentina and Morocco and doing either a joint venture or acquisition for India and South Africa. Since there's already some clockmakers there, I thought they could possibly acquire the existing businesses or look at maybe doing a joint venture. For all of these, I'm looking at predatory pricing. It's a strategy where the seller or producer can take on a short-term loss to sell at a significantly reduced prices to drive out competition and increase the demand. And I thought that would be a good strategy for entering any of these markets. As far as distribution, for Morocco and Argentina, I was looking at having, actually all of the countries, I was looking at having an exclusive distribution with a concentrated retail system. However, in Argentina and Morocco, I'm looking at a longer channel length in a lower quality channel. since there's less structure in those countries. And then India and South Africa, I'm looking at a shorter channel length with higher quality. And that's because they're looking at joint ventures or acquisitions, whereas the other two are looking more at licensing, which means the channel length. To Argentina, I think there's a chance that you could move the facilities there. The downside is that there's a rocky political economy, but the country is known for making motorized parts, which I think they could make mechanical parts for a clock quite easily if they can make motorized parts. I would say developing clocks in India, Morocco, and South Africa would be wise because they would reduce shipping expenses in countries with a relatively low GDP. So we're looking at reducing production costs and shipping expenses. And then in South Africa, there's already a few manufacturers of clocks. So if you did a joint venture or acquisition, you could use some of those facilities. Other factors. If we were to manufacture the products in country, you would only have domestic shipping costs. The infrastructure, I was not able to find information for Morocco. I had a little bit more trouble finding information on Morocco because it's a little bit less of a developed country than India has a lot of variation in its development. There's some really wealthy and some really poor, and certain parts of India are more developed than others. But Morocco seems to be overall a bit less developed. South Africa actually had the least infrastructure at the countries that I looked at. India, of course, has a huge availability of labor. It's got such a huge population. Argentina and South Africa have roughly the same population. The unemployment rate in South Africa is very high, which makes it sound like there's a lot of availability of people to do labor, but it also looks like there's a lot of problems with their economy. India actually had the lowest level of unemployment, which was surprising to me. These countries have other resources. Argentina is known for motorized parts and cars, cereal, and animal feed. India has oil and mineral fuels, precious stones and metals, and organic chemicals. Morocco has phosphates and ores, and South Africa has precious stones and metals, ores, and oil and mineral fuels. For each of these countries, the suggested organizational structure I selected was horizontal with an international division. Through my research, roughly 60% of the firms use this structure when they go overseas, including Walmart. So after looking at what they did, I thought, well, if 60% of them are doing it, there's got to be a reason. It seems to be a really good way to infiltrate a market. And as far as the localization requirements for Morocco and Argentina, I was looking at a localized strategy. You want to provide, these countries have much less of a market, so I thought tailor making products for them would be to the country's tastes would be the best way to infiltrate the market. Whereas India and South Africa already have a little bit of a market for grandfather clocks. So I think you could sell it with minimum customization. The country I think is best for us to enter first is India. This country was under British rule for several decades and still maintains some influence of that culture. India already sells some grandfather clock and has grandfather clock repair shops, so we know there is some existing demand. For India, it's a safe country to enter. It's got a large population with a large growth rate, solid fundamentals of high savings and high investment. It ranks 7th out of nearly 200 countries for global competitiveness. It ranks 7th in the world for foreign direct investment. It has a large market economy, common law, which is similar to the US, and a moderate external debt. And is my presentation. Thank you.